Hi everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of the Bison Video Blog, along with the small handsome, I call him, Jeff Kolpack. I am one Dom Izzo. That's in reference, of course, to Cody Zeller. He's the big handsome, you're the small handsome.
I appreciate that, I guess.
We're less than 3 weeks away from Selection Sunday. The bracket busters are now in our rearview mirror, Jeffrey. The Bison had a national TV game with Akron on Friday night. The Zips win it 68-53, a game where NDSU, we texted at halftime where Akron was running away with the game. The Bison got it to within 6, but I think that was maybe the clear evidence we saw this team without Taylor Braun is just a different basketball team.
And I think with Taylor Braun, it would have been a tough matchup for NDSU. We were talking about the 2009 team in comparison to this team,
right.
And I think the one difference is on offense, where I think Ben Woodside, and especially his junior, senior years, was a player who could take it to the hole and score. Now, Lawrence Alexander did a good job, and the Bison did have some good second half moments there with Chris Kading, but by and large, it's just a tough deal for this team to score against a really good upper tier defensive team.
14-0 run the Bison put together to get the game within 6. But I mentioned last night in our Sunday ramblings, I think this Akron team could win a game in the NCAA tournament, maybe 2. The MAC has shown that. But what do you make out of the fact that the top 3 teams in the Summit all lost in the bracket busters? Big deal, little deal, no deal?
Well, I think it's more of a factor if they can win an NCAA tournament game more than this bracket buster. For the Summit to really get some top flight respect, for the Summit, I think, to get a TV game, and I think you made reference to this on your Sunday ramblings, and I agree with that 100%. I agree with you 100%, by the way.
It's a rarity.
They have to do well in the tournament. You have to break through once in a while. You have to maybe get to the Sweet 16 or the round of 32 and show your stuff there.
They actually haven't won a game since 05, and that was the play-in game that Oakland won. You have to go even further back to Valpo, and that's to tell you how long it's won a game in this tournament. Valpo's been out of the league for a while, that the Summit League has had this dry spell in the NCAA tournament. Who knows, it might end this year.
And playoff games don't count in that. I mean, that's just like me beating you in one-on-one. It really doesn't count.
Or the FCS Pick'em this year, does that count?
Well, that's a different level.
Now, as we tape this tonight, we are aware that Taylor Braun will practice for the Bison for the first time since he suffered the injury on January the 12th, with the full intent that he will get some minutes tomorrow night in the regular season home finale against Utah Valley. In your mind, where do you see the biggest thing for him to getting back on the floor? How will this help NDSU?
Well, I think the biggest thing for him is to trust it mentally. When you've been off a foot and you come back, stepping on it for the first time, now does he feel it's strong enough where he can go wall to wall and go in full court sprint, run and jump and all those things? Or is there going to be some timidness? Because you hear about all these ACL injuries, and we've done a lot of stories on ACL rehabs. And the biggest thing athletes have to get over is they have to trust it. And they have to have 100% confidence in it, and then they can go. I think you've seen Katie Burkle on the women's side. It's taken a while. Only in the last 2-3 weeks has she really, and the coaches have said this, felt the full 100%. I can not worry about it at all.
And that's the tough part, because NDSU doesn't have 2 or 3 weeks to get into this. They have this game, obviously the game with Omaha Saturday, and then a week from Saturday it's the Summit League tournament. So they need to see it, and they need to see it fast if they want any shot of making the big dance here.
A big practice tonight for Taylor Braun and the men's basketball team when he goes at it. Not sure how he'll fit into the Utah Valley plans. I'm sure he'll play somewhat, somehow. I don't know how much. I don't think the coaches really know. I think they're going to take a look at it today and say, okay, how do you look, how do you feel, and then we'll make an evaluation from there.
Now, Omaha, we can't just put a W in the column there for that game, because Omaha's played well, and they will certainly play well at home in that game, but that's a game NDSU figures to win. They'll finish, if they do win, they'll go 12-4 in the conference and lock up the 3rd seed. That's important because they'll avoid the number 1 seed until they make, if they make the conference championship game, which could be either South Dakota State or Western Illinois, depending on how that.
But does it really matter, Don, whether it's South Dakota State or Western Illinois?
You got to go through both of them, right?
You have to go through at least one of them, and I don't know if there's a preference for NDSU one way or the other. Probably you want to play Western Illinois because it's a neutral court, and they are 0-6, I get that, but at some point they're going to break through.
Here's the thing, in this tournament, and we've seen it firsthand, when the Bison won it in 2009, South Dakota State knocked off Oakland, or Oral Roberts that year, who was the 2 seed. Last year, Western Illinois beat Oral Roberts, who had won 25 games. All I'm saying, there's always an upset in this tournament, so I guess we can't say automatically. Even NDSU could get beat in the first round. It's not an automatic that one of those higher seeds will make it to Tuesday night. night.
And this will be our 4th year there. You and I do not exactly have a stellar record of staying there.
0-9.
Are we 0-9?
0-6. I'm sorry, 0-6 over the last 3 years. We have not seen a Bison basketball
We have yet to see a hotel room in Sioux Falls.
Let's see. Hopefully that might change for this coming year. Also, I wanted to mention, yesterday I tweeted this out and mentioned it briefly, just about how the scheduling in the FCS world is totally being affected by what's going on with the big boys. We saw with Montana State, canceling out NDSU. They went and got Southern Methodist. SMU then canceled on Baylor. Baylor then goes and gets Wofford, who was canceled by Florida State because Florida State wants to play Pitt, and they had to cancel on Villanova. So Villanova today just got Boston College, and they have to cancel on Stony Brook.
Can you repeat that?
No, but what I'm saying, it all just runs downhill, and it leaves the FCS teams in a terrible pinch. Here we are. It's February 25th, and they're looking for games now.
And here we took Montana State to task for buying out NDSU this late. And, well, I guess that's the norm, huh?
Unfortunately so. It really is.
It's a dog-eat-dog world there in scheduling. It's unfortunate in this respect that I think it leaves the fans on the outside looking in because schools are all looking about themselves. I get that. And it's about jockeying for home games. But the fans, I think, need some time to plan and figure out who
to that point, too, Wofford wanted to play on the East Coast. They thought Florida State, that's a good South Carolina to Florida, an easy trip. Now to go to Texas, they're not going to get any fans to go to that game. That's a lose-lose for the fans in that respect, in my mind.
Yeah, you sound kind of distraught on
Well, it's disappointing because it's just, to echo your point, that those FCS, FBS games, granted, they're all about notoriety and getting fans to go. And NDSU has seen that with Minnesota. They saw it with Colorado State. They saw it with Kansas. I think they're going to see it with Kansas State this year. And to have a game where you can't get your fan base to travel, then that's disappointing to me.
So are we to the point of feeling sorry for Brian Gordon, who handles the scheduling? Do we feel for the guy?
Not yet, until he gives me a good tip on they're going to play Alabama, who's open.
Don't feel sorry for him.
On September the 7th. Before we wrap up, the Summit League Indoor Track Championships are wrapping up today in Vermilion after day one. The Bison men, Bison women both leading. The men going for 5 out of 6 titles, Jeff. The women going for 6 in a row. That is the behemoth of programs. If Oral Roberts was in baseball in the Summit League, that's what the track and field teams are into NDSU. Here.
And you ask, how does this happen? I think it happens because of, number one, coaching staff and the leadership. I think the men's and women's program have great cooperation between each other. Like, for instance, Ryan Godfrey, the head women's coach, will also handle distance running with the men. You have coaching interchange. You have Stevie Keller, who's just a great multi-coach, be it men or women, pole vault or whatever you want. I don't know if every school has a kind of cooperation between the men's and women's track. Probably not.
Probably not.
Now, I don't know for sure, but I'm guessing they don't. That's how you get a program like that, both of them, to be so good.
And they've shown it not just on the conference level, they've shown it on the national level when you just go back to Whitney Carlson.
And they're getting sprinters at the Division I level. Right. We thought when they made this Division I move that the sprinters would not make an effect on the national scene. Not so fast.
Not the case. Actually, I have one more thing before we go. The Bison women get South Dakota State, and obviously on Saturday night, and that's been the game the last few years where we've seen the real disparity in the two programs between the Jack women and the Bison women. We have not seen a whole lot, in full disclosure, I have not seen the Bison women play maybe 5 or 6 times in person this entire season. As they wrap up this year, granted, they've been beset with injuries. Obviously, the Hannah Lynn's situation as well has been a massive distraction as well. Where does this program sit as they get set to go into another postseason?
Well, I guess we'll find out on Saturday if they've closed the gap at all this year. But you're right, losing your center and Janae Burrich and some of the setbacks they've had to endure. It's been a tough road. We'll see if they and you can erase a lot of problems with a good run in the tournament.
Yep.
And I think it'll start. They'll need a good effort against Jackrabbits.
I've seen Danielle DeGagne play well over the last 3 weeks. She won Summit League Player of the Week actually today. You mentioned Katie Burkle off the top. I think they got a really nice player, Marina Whittle from Australia, but obviously there have been quite a few setbacks, and we'll see what happens on Saturday night with South Dakota State. The Bison men in action tomorrow night with Utah Valley, the return of Taylor Braun as they wrap up the regular season. For Jeff Kolpack, I'm Dom Izzo, the latest edition of the Bison Video Blog.